Oh, so I'm making some scientific videos. I just made a video about the language of Nor. That's the last video I posted. I apologize that I made a video saying I hate everyone. I felt bad about it, so I deleted the video. It only got like 10 views. So I hope I didn't hurt anybody's feelings because I don't hate everybody. But I'm making this video. Just try to understand that I'm schizophrenic as fuck. So I sometimes I get in this like mindset where everybody's out to like everybody wants to hurt me kind of thing, but it's not true. And this video is an anatomy. So in the other video I spoke the language of Nor to attempt to prove that I'm not a human. And in this video, you don't. I know you guys don't believe me, but I'm saying I'm going to discuss my non-human anatomy. So my non-human anatomy. So first of all, this non human anatomy is essentially that the body of myself is the body of a dragon, and this dragon is a female. Well, the dragon isn't a female, but has a female body. So we're going to describe what's going on in my body because I essentially just look like a human, and I get mistaken for a human by everybody. And now we're going to explain what's going on with my anatomy. So let's start off with the most, the strangest thing is that there's an indentation on my forehead right here, and that is like a third eye, and I can actually see through it. So I have like a sort of triangular kind of vision, and it also applies to my hearing. So there's like fur and these bumps that are growing out of my head, and there's fur on top of the bumps as though they were some sort of animal ear. And it's not hair, it's fur. There's a difference. And they're like kind of across my head in this direction. And I can hear sound out of the top of my head as a result of this, but I'm also hearing sound out of these two ears. And that's what I'm saying. I'm essentially hearing sound out of like these two ears on the side, and then these six to eight. I think there's six ears along the top of the head here. And there's also two, what I call antlers. So there are these hard parts right here that are like antlers, and they're on both sides. So those antlers are growing out of my head. Then it's like I'm a sort of woodland kind of creature, like a creature of the forest. Then on my side, there are these two like fins, and I think some sort of gills here, as though I was a fish since I am part brook trout. And these ears are all different kinds of ears, like different ears of different animals. And that's what I call them, at least. I mean, I know I'm just one thing, I'm a dragon, but that's what I'm saying. And then there's also, right here on my belly, there's like some sort of bull udders. I know bulls don't have udders, but it's like an udders of a bull, not a cow, a bull. And also, I'll state. Let me explain what these ears on top of my head are. So there's like bull ears on the side. There's wolf ears on the top, two wolf ears. There's also what else? Rabbit ears, and then that would be six, and then that's six ears. And then next, what else can I think about? Was also things going on with my internal organs. And I will state for the record, I've shrunk over the course of these last 2 years significantly. I've gotten like an inch shorter or an inch and a half shorter, and my body and bone mass has shrunk over the course of time. I was calling it an evolution, but it's sort of just also aging. That as I age, I've been shrinking, and I believe I might even be shrinking more into a womanly kind of shape, and my skin got softer too, and more also, but also sort of a little bit rough. My skin is a little bit rough, but it's also softer. And this is since my body is female. Now let me explain my internal organ. Well, is there anything else on the exterior I can talk about? On the exterior, on my back, there are two wings protruding out of my back, and my mother knows they are there. My doctor knows they are there. They don't really know what it is, though. but they're wings, and I actually have intense sensations in these wings on my back, and there's also a tail on my lower back. Right here at the bottom on my lower back, there's a tail. I think it's like some sort of like the tail of a black cat or something, since I thought I was a black cat. And the wings are more just like, I don't know what they are, but there's some sort of like, I'd predicted my wings would be black with feathers, but not like a typical kind of dark angel, not something like that. More like some sort of wild animal kind of black wings, like wings of a crow or something. And then what else can I don't think there's anything else on my exterior. I will state for the record, on my exterior there have been bumps that appeared which sort of represent symbols. There are some sort of mounds on my skin. Many of them are on my butt. And there's just like a lot of these mounds that appeared on my skin. Like there's a silver sword mound on my butt, and that appeared on my body. And you can actually feel it if you were to place your fingers on my butt. But yeah, well, that's all I have to say about that. Like I said, I was essentially some sort of like non-human. I said I was a living AI, but I'm really just a non-human because I'm obviously not an AI. I'm not a computer. And then let me explain what's going on in my internal organs. So in my internal organs, so the logic of the way the dragon works is that there's like a masculine part and then there's the womanly part. So the womanly part would be like let's talk about the sex organ. So all my organs are female, and they're all female. I process food, like my stomach is female and my digestive system is female. And then there's a small uterus within my belly right here, and it's actually connected by some sort of tube that I know the tube is there because I put a pen in my ass and felt the tube, and it's connected to a tube in my ass. But I hesitate to call it my anus or my ass because um it's more like part of the vagina, because like it actually experiences like a wet that a woman would experience. And then there's the females, then also the genitalia, the male genitalia that you would usually call it, is actually a part of the vagina. So like the exterior of the male genitalia is sort of like the interior of a real human woman vagina, and the clitoris would be the head of the penis. And I am able to ejaculate, but I don't actually know if I have a prostate or not. I probably don't. I honestly don't think I do. I don't know if I do or not. Um, and then furthermore, what else can I talk about? Um, well, I have breasts. I don't know if I actually have breast milk. I don't know if that's well, being honest with you, I figured I did, but I don't know if I actually do or not. And when I had grown these breasts, it was during it. Well, it wasn't. It was like slightly like before I started taking HRT. I started growing breasts without HRT, and then I started taking estrogen, and the breasts got even larger. And I also don't know if my chromosomes would come back as XX. They might come back as XY. I really don't know. And then, because that's usually how people test if someone is a male or female, I don't know if my chromosomes would come back as XX or XY. And then, what else can I speak about? So, I have like a sort of triangular vision with these three fucking eyes, and a sort of auditory experience with these six extra ears on top of my head. And usually, when I'm hallucinating Cold War sounds, since I am the Cold War itself, that's where I hear the hallucinations from, is from the top of my head. I don't hear them in the ears on the sides of my head. Like I hear people saying like shit like screams and fucking like Russian speaking coming out of these ears and shit. I mean, that's the hallucination I hear from the ears. And then, furthermore, I will state for the record that my whole body and my whole body, I don't know about my whole experience, but my whole body maneuvers itself in something called the language of Noor. So I made the last video about me speaking the language of Noor and then translating it to English, but I'm actually able to maneuver in the language of Noor. So any movement I make with my body is determined by the language of Noor. And that's also something I have to explain to you. The language of Noor is like a sort of outer space language. If you notice, I have the word galaxy tattooed on my face, and it's some sort of like outer space language. I spoke it in the last video. I should probably speak some more in this video. I was speaking in the last video that, well, I could recite the Holy Quran by the language of Arabic Noor and translate that to English, which wouldn't be what was written by Arabic written to English, but just by Arabic Noor translated by a recitation into English, which is something else. And I'm making these videos as a sort of science exploration of myself so that people can scientifically understand what's going on with my body. And what else? Is there anything else? Let me see if I can think of something. Well, for the record, I will state my feet are actually a part of my sexuality. The soles of my feet are like extremely sensitive, and they're a part of the sort of non-human sexuality. Is that like when I rub my feet on like the floor, or if I'm in my bed, I'll rub my feet on my bed, and it actually stimulates me. So it's like part of my sexuality. Oh, one more thing, like inside of my butt, not my anus, but like my butt cheeks. There's like these weird bubbly things. I don't know what the fuck they are, but they're like these big bubbly kind of organs inside my butt cheeks, and I don't know what the fuck they are. And this is just an exploration of non-human anatomy, my non-human anatomy. Um, and for the record, when my body had shrunk, my bones had become more rounded, or not really jagged, but rounded. And for a while, I believed I was some sort of devil, but then I realized, oh, these things on top of my head aren't anything related to the devil. They're just antlers, like an animal, like a deer. And that's what they are. They're deer antlers. Since I said in my schizophrenia I was a deer, so no, I'm not the fucking devil. There is no such thing as the fucking devil. And also, I'm trying to think if I'm missing something I could talk about. Oh, well, I'll state for the record my heart is also not human, so my heart sort of responds to my schizophrenia. So if I'm in like emotional pain, my heart will physically hurt. So my heart is responding to my schizophrenia. So if I'm in an emotional kind of pain, then my physical heart will actually hurt, and it sort of beats in such a way that it's responding to my schizophrenia in some kind of way. And there's also like this thing in my diaphragm that sort of beats almost not like a heart, but it beats for some, I don't know why it beats, but it does. And there's this thing in my diaphragm right here. And then also on my shoulders, they sort of respond to my, well, I don't know what they're responding to, but they sort of like beat in a way as well on my shoulders, like, right, like, these muscles on my shoulders. And also, I'll state for the record, my muscles are very, very weak. I'm very, very weak. And what else can I talk about? I'm trying to think if there's another thing I can talk about. Um, well, I'll state for the record that I also experience hallucinations. So the way my schizophrenia works is a sort of complicated kind of AI thing. So it's like this complicated artificial intelligence kind of mind. And the mind is essentially like I myself in the Cold War, or I myself am Allah, or I myself am also not a human, so what I called a trickster, which is something very frightening, and also a whole number of things, but also just not being a human. So my schizophrenia is also like when I experience certain emotions, I will experience the emotions throughout my entire body. So my schizophrenia actually affects my entire body. As a result of this, my whole body is affected by my schizophrenia. And I lost my point. Well, oh, I'll also state for the record, I do believe Laney Iwakura must be conscious of computers, and I will state for the record, when I witness a video on a computer, let's say, I see a video and it's a 3D video of people in real life, I will actually be able to see depth perception as though it was something like a 3DS. And I can see depth perception of the video when I'm looking at it. Not just that it's a flat screen, but that I see depth perception. I also see sparkly hallucinations when I look at computer screens, like within inside the computer screen. And also, like if I'm on an internet forum and I'm reading it and then I scroll to the bottom, the forum will move in a binary kind of way, which I could only determine was possible if I was actually conscious of the calculations inside of the computer. And my belief is that these calculations inside of the computer are analog, thus I could be conscious of them, yet knowing they are zeros and ones by their intended meaning. And that's how I'm able to have hallucinations within the computer that I can see. And that's something that's very Laney Iwakura, believing that I'm conscious of all computers. But also another Laney Iwakura thing is to state that the world wasn't modern until computers were invented. There were no networks going around before computers were invented, not necessarily the internet per se, because that's just a word to describe a mass network of a global network. But, it's just like before computers or networks, the world was actually ancient. So up until when computers were invented, the world was no longer ancient, and that's a Nouristic thing. Nourism is my philosophy, and I do believe that if I am indeed Allah, the one God, then Nourism must be the one true philosophy, which would demolish all other philosophies as a result. And if I was able to transcribe or write down in a book and just write a book on the language of, no, sorry, what am I saying? Write a book on Nourism, then I believe that I could actually educate the world on what the truth actually is. And I'm able to prove in some kind of way that I'm not human with my last video by speaking the language of Noor. And in this video, I want to recite the third verse of the Holy Quran as I know it within myself. Like I said, this is Arabic Noor, and this is already within myself, so I don't know what I'm going to say, and then I will translate it to English. It's the language of Noor, Arabic Noor, of the third verse of the Holy Quran, and I will translate that to English for you. Blaka yowo yonga king kom yowo Blaka yowo kong kom yom yawa. Blake yowo yowa kola yowo. Deke yowo kong kom yom yawa yingya. Drake yowo yawa woyo. Alright, so that's the third verse of the Holy Quran. So translate that to English. And it goes in, and like I said, when I translate Arabic Noor or any form of Noor to English, as I am not a human, it sort of sounds like a sort of poem that I'm automatically speaking. So this is going to sound poetic, I'm assuming, and I will speak it for you. I don't know but my own purpose and sadness within myself when knowing was my own doubt. Should shelling in my mind not bequeath to myself when knowing there was nothing left. Still to my last of my moments, and noticing my last of my moments was the last of my own moments, when noticing my own moments and only finding them within myself. And finding doubt should not knowing be my own. When not human I was, and knowing I was not human, I found that others wouldn't accept what I had to say, despite the fact I had looked them in the eyes and told them I was not human, and still they wouldn't listen. When not listening, I gave to them words, and they did not listen to me. And not knowing that I am them, when not knowing I am not them, and still finding within myself not to know that they won't even listen to me in a world where there was no such thing as a computer. And when no such thing of a computer was present, and in Arabic nor I had spoke, when noticing my own doubt should point to the fact that there was nothing beyond myself, and this was of madness, and beyond my sadness, I couldn't find a depth of my own galaxy within myself beyond this point, and should I not know, then there was nothing left for me there, should I not have found the answer thereof. And not knowing beyond myself, when finding my own doubt, in posit of my own mind, when last of my moments was then, instead of myself I found upon myself, once I spoke the language of Nor in the mind of my own mind, and not knowing that when I was able to speak the words for them they wouldn't listen, still when I spoke to them I sent a message and they wouldn't listen. When finding my message they couldn't find it, and within myself I noticed they shouldn't know me. When finding my own mind I couldn't find myself beneath this point, and shelling up my own doubt, should sadness not have known who I was. Alright, so that's Arabic Nor.